our logo just becomes very big because there's all this yarn here.
It's a thing.
So, ta-da!
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello. I have to walk around all my projects over here. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Adventures of Liz and Rebecca.
That was somber.
It's morning.
Okay, I feel like I should move it close, like that way. We have to set this up every time, and so it's never in the right place. I feel like you're cut off a little. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so this is going to be a little cut off today. Sorry. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in downtown Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
And I didn't say the weather because I'm still in a kerfuffle about plaza stuff. That is, you know, I'm not going to complain about on camera. It's just stuff. So, it's overcast, and is it going to rain, or is it just going to be Nkidi day?
I think there's a slight chance of rain.
Okay.
But, you know, that could be anywhere in the radar screen, and, you know, because we're Brevard, we'll probably get a few freckles.
Ooh. Did you
Yes.
you already see that one?
Yes.
I sent her a reel about how the percentage of rain is calculated. It was really cool. I thought it was, you may have already known
I
it.
already kind
But
of knew it.
It helped me very much because it's over an area and there's a percentage in one area, but then they do the calculation for the whole area and it changes it. And depending on where you are, you're either okay with that or really pissed off at that.
And because we're Brevard, we always get the higher percentage.
We always get the higher, so it's always a higher percentage of rain than the forecast says. So, trying to de-stress. Not easy at all. So, is our Tuesday check-in. We get to talk about what we did over the weekend. I've been seeing a lot of people on Knit and Chat and other places that are all interested in starting podcasts. And I think that's lovely. I mean, as one of the reasons I don't watch a lot of other podcasts, other than, like, I watched a couple of Grocery Girls once, is I don't want us to be, like, copying other people's stuff. But, I mean, there's such a plethora out there. You can either say the market is super saturated, or everyone's got their own personality and flavor, so it's all good. Because some of these people are asking, like, well, what should I talk about? What content do people want to hear about? And we've never figured that out. You know, we've never figured out the magical combo. We just know some people like listening to us talk. So cool. You know. Oh, these feel very different than the ones I have at home. I feel like the ones I have at home are
those new?
No, they're all this might be my newest set, but they're all almost the same age, right? And they've all been out of the case. I'm talking about my barber cords. I'm wondering if they dry out a little when they're out of the case, but a lot of them have been out of the case for a really long time. So, I don't know. Some seem more pliable than others. They all work, though. So, I'm getting this in case I try anything on today. I think I want to try on my Avena later, because I think I'm almost... What was that look? I saw a look.
We're having a competition, and currently she's slightly ahead. But, you know.
But your torso's gonna be poop length, you know, like...
Well...
Like, not long is what I mean by that. So...
But we had, like, wrong. Last night we had about the same amount left on torso length.
Did we?
Yeah. So, and I got about an inch done. So, how
I
much
didn't quite get an inch done. I'm at close to 11 inches, though, for me. So maybe another inch, and then the ribbing is 2 inches. But see, you're not going to do 2 inches of ribbing. So you're going to pop that out.
I'll probably do an inch and a half, but I still have, like, I want it to be, like, 4.5 inches long.
Liz put the whole, like, let's try to get our sweaters done by Easter challenge. Not so much a competition. We can turn it into that. Of course, it's not a competition unless I'm winning.
And currently she is, so...
No, but my sleeves are probably going to take longer. I don't know. I'm toasty. I'm probably taking this off anyway. I'm prepping for when I might try this on and see where I'm at. I want to see... I'm thinking I'm probably going to go to 12 inches of stockinette and then do my ribbing. The pattern says to go to 10 inches or 2 inches of shy of where you want the final length to be. That's kind of like people say, use size 8 needles with this or size needed for gauge. Everyone's got the things that are going to work for them. So,
yes,
we always start with Liz. because then I don't monopolize the whole thing. So tell us about the things you're doing.
So I am currently knitting in circles and circles and circles because,
Can't do it. It's not the only thing I'm working on, but
I finished.
Courtney's coming down. I don't know if she's going to come over here, in which case I'll go run and talk to her.
All of the color work, and now I got the short rows done on the back to help everything sit right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do all the short rows because I was like, it's going to put the back way longer than I want it. So I just did, about 1.5 inches of short rows. And
I got distracted. We're going to pick up with where Liz was. What were you saying?
So I only did just like 1 inch of short rows just because the sweater was a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be.
Bigger.
But when I tried it on after sleeve separation, I was like, I'm very happy with the way it's looking.
Okay, so are we cautioning people that when you're trying on before you've done sleeve separation, try not to freak out if it feels bigger?
Well,
or did you actually go back and like change things?
Okay, so you see what had happened was, the pattern is written for DK on like a 7 needle. I'm doing it out of chunky on a 10.5 needle. Shocked face. And then I did all of the top. It's supposed to be a hybrid construction where you start here and you work up and then you go back and take out the initial cast on and then go down. So a couple of things. I did the color work on the size large pattern.
Okay.
And then I put it on stitch holders and thought that it was like way huge.
You also went top down.
Yeah, I also went top down.
Yeah.
And there, like for the size large pattern, there was one more row of increases that I was like, do I want to do that row? I should try it on. It felt kind of huge.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'm at this stitch count, and the medium size has that stitch count at the end. So I was like, I'll just finish everything off from the medium. And when I tried it on after sleeve separation, based on the medium, so I was quite happy.
So if you had continued on, like the large would have had extra increases after the color work?
Yeah.
Or like when you checked it?
Just right at the very end of the color work. It would have been closer to a swan show if I had
And here's the thing.
continued.
If you had followed the instructions to go up and done it on the size you thought you needed to do, it would have been too big and you would have had to rip the whole thing out.
Yeah.
So in some ways it's a really good thing that she did this. She's making a lot of guesses and estimates and other things that we don't have a scientific formula to help you figure out. I want to be very clear on that.
I did do a gauge swatch. I, did the magic math and was like, okay, I need to do a large. But if I had done a large bottom up for the color work, I would have had a swan show.
And you might have either kept a swan show or ripped it out and done it again.
Maybe. I probably would have
kept
the
swan
show. I thought about it for a while, like, well, I just need to frog it, but I was like, no, I'm not going back and redoing all the color work. But I'm very happy with what I have. But it is the nice thing about top down is that you can keep trying it on and going, does this work? Does it not?
That's why I like top downs very much. There's something to be said for the pieced sweaters of, I was about to say of old, although there are still pieced sweaters out there where you make the front and the back and the sleeves and you sew the whole thing together. There's something to be said for the structure of that. Like the seams, as much as a lot of people don't like seaming or having to sew things together, it provides a different construction and a different fit. And it's really hard to tell you, based on your body shape, which one will fit the best. Because we find that, I haven't tested that enough to know. Someone else might have good recommendations out there for that. I have people contacting me all the time saying, well, I have small shoulders. Which one should I wear? And it's one of those, even if I had those recommendations, which I don't, that's still a personal preference thing of until you've made a few sweaters and tried them on and see which sweater construction, shoulder construction you like, it may be hard to know.
Well, and all of that too can depend on the pattern writer or the because it's we've talked about it with gauge too. Like most patterns you're writing or you're doing for their gauge that they wrote the pattern on, and if you change it,
I saw someone on Knit and Chat
take your chances.
Yeah, I saw someone on Knit and Chat who was like, there's this bulky sweater for size 15 needles, and I want to knit it with this yarn on size 13s. Do I need more or less yarn? Or blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, there's a bigger question here of how is it going to fit? And is it going to fit? And, there's all kinds of things going on in that. So, I
regular, because I always change needle and yarn sizes, generally up. I don't generally go down, just because teeny tiny. Ooh, but yeah, you do take a risk of, am I going to have enough yarn? Am I going to, I know now about how much yarn it's going to take me based on my needle size and sometimes the sweater pattern. But changing things can change
a lot. It'll change.
So.
I mean, going to smaller needles, usually, even regardless of changing the yarn thickness, will change the fit. In theory, it's going to take more yarn if you're on a smaller needle, but it depends. If it's a now knit until it's this long, your stitches are smaller, you're eating up more yarn. But if it's a only do so many rows, like the whole thing will be smaller, but could take the exact same amount of yarn. And then there are the ones where we do the calculations for the customer based on what the pattern says, and we set them up with the yarn, and they come back later and say, I didn't have enough yarn. And that could be on the pattern, that could be on their gauge. There's so many reasons that could happen. And so we often counsel people, buy one extra skein if you can afford it. We absolutely get that not everyone's budget can afford it. So you either take home what the minimum amount or just under the minimum amount, play yarn chicken, or you extend yourself. And for our shop, I think we've been very gracious about taking back, as long as it's still twisted up or looks like it could go right back on the shelf. Our receipts say we'll take it back for shop credit within 30 days or if the dye lot is still on the shelves. We've been pretty gracious about extending that. We've taken stuff back from people long after those 30 days and when there's nothing on our shelves, because we want to keep you going as much as you can. So we try to find a middle ground on that. So anyway, is that what you've been working on all weekend?
No.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
I changed out my hair.
Ooh, let's talk about that.
It's Feederbrook.
That's really cool. So, and it looks like you plied some yarn, but it's the Feederbrook twists.
It was one skein and maybe a couple of grams of another skein, and then I sorted it according to color.
You just made lengths, right?
Yeah, I just cut it however long, tied little knots at the end so that it doesn't untwist, and the back it gets darker as you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, what you're pulling at right now is very light.
Yeah, it's the light, and then it goes green.
And did you plan that on purpose?
I did. Oh. I was like, Feederbrook is the coolest yarn ever. I'm not sure I like it. I mean, it looks cool. The yarn isn't enough weight, though.
Yeah, that's what I was, when you were putting it in and we FaceTimed once or twice, I was like, I wonder if that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
Like, just having it hanging down, it might floof a little or something, or pull up.
Like, when I first did it, I had some pulled straight back, and they just wanted to stick straight out when I let them go. So,
so you just have to do a do.
Yeah, I don't like doing my hair.
Oh, so how long do you think this hair might stay in?
This hair is going to stay in until I switch it out at Easter for my Easter dress.
So we'll get a couple weeks.
Yeah. The length, I mean, it's short for me.
For you. Yeah.
So
I was thinking she's going to do like a bob. Look, we're almost the same length of hair. I still have to grow. No, we're really not. Never mind. Mine's grown out since I got it cut over Christmas, but it's still, whatever the heck that was. It's still shorter. It's like the parts of your hair that are pulled up and behind and hang down are almost, I'm still shorter. Never mind. Okay. So those were your two big projects for the weekend?
Yeah, that's what I did.
No, I think that's really good. I actually think, like, if I focused more right now, I'd be making more progress on fewer things.
Right? In addition to that, there was go get the car oil changed and registered for the year, and grocery shopping, and
there's all the adulting we have to do when we're not here. And
I feel like I should have had more done. And I'm kind of like, that's all but there was adulting in there.
Somehow we're supposed to be rested for the week, too.
Yes.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Somebody tell me. Okay. I'm very excited. Excuse me. I'm very excited. I finished knitting something.
Yay!
I finished knitting something.
Ooh.
Yes. And it's not blocked yet, so it feels really small. I think it's going to grow a lot with blocking.
Is it inside out?
No.
Okay.
Can you not see the cables?
Well, I was looking at them at an angle and...
Okay, so this is my oxen shawl from Pom Pom 42. And it's so soft.
It feels so soft.
It's so soft. I knit it with Saxony, which is the Juniper Moon Farm yarns that is 75% cashmere. It's the highest cashmere content in the shop. 25% merino. People want to see cashmere, and we show them this lovely, and then they're like, that's not cashmere, because it's tweedy and thick. But it's so pretty. Look at all those cables and lace. Like, there's leaves and cables, and the end part took, like, half of this ribbing took a whole ball, almost a whole ball. Like, the ribbing took more than a ball. Let me say that. I was on my 5th ball. During the I-cord bind-off, I switched to my 5th ball, and then I picked up stitches around the edges. Like, you pick up and go down and pick up. And you keep adding stitches to the edges and the center as you do just the ribbing around the edge. And halfway through that 16 rows, there's doing crazy stuff outside. Halfway through those 16 rows of ribbing, I needed a new ball of yarn. So I think, there it is. This is all I had left of my 6th ball of yarn.
Sweet.
And there was a scale around here somewhere.
Do we still?
Okay. Liz is going to find a scale. I am guessing this is a 1/3 to a 1/4. I think it's less than half of the skein. Let's see. Yes, it is 15 grams of a 50-gram skein. So that's, I don't know, maybe my math is bad. 25 grams is half.
Yeah.
So it's less than half. It's probably about a 1/3. I don't think it's quite a 1/4. So, because 15, 30, 45. It's a little less than a 1/3 because 15 times 3 would be 45 grams instead of 50. So, it did indeed take me 6 skeins, which this yarn is $33 a skein. So, this is an expensive shawl. I'm going to love it and squeeze it and name it George. No.
I love my sweaters that I did. And I work at a yarn shop, so, I understand. But for a cowl, for,
I made a
quick hat
out of a skein and a half. It did 50 grams, may not get you a full hat. It did have cables in it. If you wanted a smaller, tighter beanie, you could do it out of one.
I think I needed a little extra for the hat that I did. So
we'll see. If I stretch this, it is a full arm wingspan for me. When I block this, we will see how it falls. So, and what size it is. On the model in the magazine, it looked bigger than this. I did not test my gauge. I just jumped in with the needles and the yarn. So if it's not the same size as what is in the magazine, I have no one but myself to blame. But this is lovely. It's a very fall color, and it is now currently spring, but that's okay. If I'm cold, I will still use this. So I finished this. I'm very excited that I can knock something else off my on the needles list. I'll probably add 2 more, but I also last week, another finished object. I made a pressed flowers hat. Our pressed flowers make-along technically starts on Saturday. I am working hard to get all kinds of samples done. I'll show you my shawl next and where my shawl is at. I had leftovers from a zigzag that I was never going to finish. It wasn't in the right weight of yarn for a zigzag anyway. I was trying a DK weight zigzag. The Fiber Spates Vivacious DK is a heavy DK. That's what the purple is in this. And I was like, the hat's written for sport weight, so let me test it with a heavy DK combo, and we'll know if it'll work for all the other technically DK combos that we've pulled together, because that's the kind of yarn we have. The feeder brook really is a DK, so rather than a sport weight, but it's maybe on the thin side of that. There's thin and thick parts of it because of how it's spun and like locally, not local made in terms of small business, not in terms of being nearby us. So they're up in Maryland. What I thought was fascinating about this, before I get to the size and the fit, is all these colors of yarn that I didn't get to. I still have color changing. I don't know if I'm happy with which colors made it in, but I just made it to see what would happen. I do think this is bigger than it's intended to be. It has 25 rows of ribbing at the bottom. So it's a little loose. It still looks but comfy. It's super cute. And as Carol was pointing out, if I pull it on tight, because of that really big brim, I can fold it up if you like wearing your hats like this. And that may or may not happen with a sport weight or with our lighter DK options that we have for kits. But your hat should come out smaller than this. Now again, I did not test my gauge. I just grabbed the needles that the pattern is written for and had at it, because I figured if it was too big, which I was planning it would be, that's okay, it's a hat. Now if this was a sweater, I'd be doing something else. So, moving along with all my pressed flowers things, I have a few things to show you. Yarn down.
Not a thing.
This much left of my first ball for my pressed flowers shawl. I ran out of my first skein of green with this many stitches left, which I am now going to quickly just slide over to my other needle so I can show you all the beauty that is my pressed flowers. I have half of a pattern repeat left, so it's one row of flowers, before I switch to the other pattern chart, which has the flowers closer together, which is super exciting. So I do indeed need 2 skeins of each. I doubt I'll need the full skeins, especially of my contrast color, to finish this. And this is not on barber cords. I could slide it onto the barber cords, but I think I'm just going to show you like 1/2. So I don't think I'm going to need assistance for, so let me see if I can bunch up one side so you can kind of see what half of this looks like, right? So the other side's kind of bunched up, but here's like my center spine is right where this hand is. Isn't that fun?
It's looking so...
You can tell that the colors are changing at a faster rate. I'm going to hit some purple and then some orange and yellow before this skein is done. I have my other skeins ready. They were not wound, so I did not keep going. I switched projects. But you do 5 repeats of these flowers, so after your setup flowers, you're going to have 10 rows more of flowers. It's like 11 rows total before you switch patterns, and this is where mine's at. If there's time at the end, I'm probably going to have the barber cord in my other sweater, so I don't think I can totally show this off to you. There's a picture on my Instagram page and Facebook page of it spread out on a barber cord if you'd like to see how it looks. But we put up some new neutrals. A few of them have already been bought for small and large. If you see something for the small hat and cowl kits that you want a shawl kit, contact us because we might have enough to make it or we might not. I have already ordered more feeder brook because we have like a kind of low stock of feeder brook because we pulled so many kits. We still have some fun stuff left, but it's really only, we have very little of the solids. They're down by Liz's hand there. And we have limited quantities of some of the color changing ones because we've already pulled a bunch of kits together, but we've ordered more. So contact us. We got in a new color of Alba. It's not in the system and it's not online yet. I am working on a lot today, and we should have a lot of yarn coming in today. So, we got a new colorway of Alba in though, and before I get it up for everybody to like, ooh, I think I can use it with, I've got a really hot, fiery color of Feederbrook that I frogged in February from a shawl that I'd like to use as a contrast in a cardigan. So I started a gauge swatch with this new color. I thought the new color was going to be kind of maybe white, cream, something. It's kind of like a gray-white with blue flecks. So let me find it. It's called Winter of all things, which is really fun. Let me see. I think that's the... I have 3 balls frog down here that... I'm trying to... I'll pull up the other 2 as well. I've got some weird colors on the outside of this one, but I figured it's best to test it against the weird colors, right? So this is the new color of Alba. Alba is kind of like Rowan felted tweed in appearance. It's a slightly different fiber combination, and it's a much bigger ball. Rowan felted tweed comes in 50 grams, and this is 100 grams. But this is what the winter looks like. Whenever we order from Knitting Fever, we are always pleasantly surprised and sometimes shocked by what comes in, because it's different than what we see online. But we love them all. So this is my gauge swatch for my cardigan with these fiery colors and the winter. I think it's going to actually look really cool. And I think I'm getting gauge on these needles. I'm getting close enough that I'm not super stressed about it. But so this is one of the frog skeins. And then these are my other 2 frog skeins. I've got a lot of fiery colors and I've got some, blues and other things. I'm fascinated. I think I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to get my shawl done before I start my cardigan though. Even though at first I was going to do these colors with just an ivory cream from Patagonia. And we're out of that now. We've got it on order. It's back ordered with our distributors. So this is going to change the appearance. It's going to cool the cardigan off a lot. Going to have a cool background and a mostly kind of fiery flower pattern. I think that could be very, very cool. We have this color in stock, but all the skeins look completely different from each other. And some of them look like what I have and some of them don't. So it is Flashpoint. And Flashpoint sometimes comes in with super, super hot tones. And like this one's full of aquas on what I can see more than the hot tones. So like all of these are Flashpoint. And then this one is super muted. I can never predict. And that is both the joys and the hardships of a hand dye.
Some of that is her process.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the sheep wool gets carded, and then she dyes it, and then she spins it. And so, then it gets plied. So you really don't know what you're getting until it's done. And it's the same undertones. Like, you can often tell from one batch to another, like some of the similar tones. But sometimes the color sometimes the saturation takes differently. Like we've had ones that, like the hat I made, this is Symbiosis. It was one of the first batches that we got. And then this is Symbiosis now. Like, I think sometimes her early batches, especially, she's a little more timid with how long she lets the color sit. This is gorgeous, and you can see some of those purples and other things in here. There isn't as much green in this batch that we recently got. And the green is the main color that ended up in the hat. So it's just like, ha! And I had a conversation with her recently because I placed 2 orders almost back to back because we want to make more kits and have more opportunities for people. And she's like, well, this batch and this batch don't necessarily match. I can overdye. I can do this. I said, just send us what you have. And we'll figure out ways to use it. Because it's a lot of work to begin with. And then to try to say, well, now you've got to fix or you've got to match. Matching doesn't always happen, especially with hand dyes. And while that is a struggle for people who want consistency,
it is kind of part of the joy of hand-dyed or small batch produced yarn. Malabrigo's an example. We don't carry Malabrigo, but they're an example of a bigger mass-produced hand dye that even if it's the same dye lot, and I don't even know if they do dye lots necessarily.
It's like feeder or fiber spates.
Mm-hmm.
There's dye lots stamped on there, basically a time code.
They might have been made at the same time, but they'll be really different skein to skein. And it will be hard to know sometimes until you start. Sometimes you can tell by looking at them. And sometimes there's swatches and patches in the middle that will end up being completely different. We've had people bring in sweaters they're making with Malabrigo where the sleeve is a totally different color than the torso. And they're like, how do I fix this? It's like, well, you can go back and alternate, but it's not completely fixable. So, yeah. All right, so that's something I'm super excited about. And then last night, I've got a hot mess on the ground. Tried to make a little more progress on this because with my flax getting close to sleeve separation, I'm going to need barber cords from something else to put into my sleeves. So here's my Avena. I think it's close to. I might have to stretch my torso a little bit to make it 11 inches. So it may not be the full length that I want it to be before I start my ribbing. I'm going to try to get... I've had bad luck with my barber cords lately of pulling in the... just yanking ever so slightly in the wrong direction and having the barber cord come off the needle. I tell people it's a rare thing. It has not been a rare thing for me lately. I still love these barber cords, even when they pop off.
I push them on, tug at them a little, and if they start popping off, I push them on even more.
Yes, but see, I've done that, and it still happens to me.
And then I don't pull at all, And I found some of the colors actually
do better than others.
And I think, some of it could be the darker colors don't stay on near as well as the lighter colors. I don't know. I haven't scientifically,
I am having problems with my orange one at home. So it's going to break any theory that Liz has right now, but that's okay.
My green ones work better than my blue ones.
This blue one seems to be doing well for me, and I always try to hold the join when I'm sliding down, because some of these are really a little sticky. I say sticky, I don't mean literally like honey, but the yarn's going to want to pull at the barber cord when you're trying to slide stitches down the barber cord. But it's the weirdest thing. I was actually sliding back on, and then I went back to get more, and it went tunk, and I was like, ah! But don't panic. Scream and yell. Just don't panic. I'm going to get it totally on the barber cord, so there's no danger of that happening while I try it on. So I only have this much to go. Give me a couple more seconds here. Because I'm hoping I can start maybe... We have so much going on today, it's not going to happen at the shop today. But maybe during knit night, I can get to where the ribbing should be, where I'd like the ribbing. There we go. This time it worked. Yay! I've also found that sometimes with the aggressive pushing of my needles into my barber cord tips, they might split a little over time. And that's usually when I'm trying to get too big of a needle in there. And then I just trim off. I try to trim off as little as possible to keep the full length of my barber cord, but I'll trim off the split because that will affect how well it sticks to the needle, and your stitches might get stuck on that little split. So, all right, there we go. Let's try this sucker on and see how much shorter it is than I think it is. Da 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 da.
That's actually not as short as I thought it was.
I think because when you put the sleeves on, sometimes that can pull everything up a little bit and make everything a little tighter. I still think I'm going to go to 12. I think I'm close to 11 right now. I think I'm trying to go to 12 inches and then 2 inches of ribbing. So that way it will be about the same length as my t-shirt, if not a little longer. But I'm super excited to be making progress on this. Ta-da! I might actually get the sleeves going soon.
I like it.
Yes. I also, let's see, I'm alternating skeins, even though this is a very subtle tonal. I may switch over to my smaller one for the ribbing and only do one. May not alternate skeins in the ribbing because it may not matter as much. The ribbing will cast shadows that will make it look like that part is a little bit different color anyway, potentially. So I don't think I need to be as stressed about blending. And hopefully there's enough left here for the 2 inches of ribbing. We'll find out. And if not, it's okay. Because, again, hopefully I have... Ooh, and I got a weird thing in there. But hopefully I have a whole nother ball of this at home. In which case I can just do 1 ball for each sleeve. I was debating that too. Should I alternate skeins on the sleeves? And I think I'm just going to take a chance and take 1 ball per sleeve so I'm not juggling as much for potentially 2 at a time sleeves. In which case, I'll see when I get a few inches in how it looks, but I'm hoping that will help it get done a little faster, to not have to juggle 4 balls of yarn. The other option would be to take my 2 skeins, 1 for each sleeve, split them in half, each of them, and alternate, so I have 4 balls made up of 2 different skeins, like half for my sleeves.
Yeah, that's an awful lot of...
It's more work than I want to do. So I'm going to try, because what I can do is I can always start the sleeves, and if they look completely mismatched, then I will rip them back and do just that. So, and which one would end up being more work depends on if my first experiment actually succeeds. So, Easter, I can get this done, right? Maybe?
Yeah. We'll be twinses.
Because this yarn is technically her collar yarn.
Yeah.
So, technically, we have the same yarn in both sweaters. So when we see you, probably the Tuesday after Easter,
yeah,
maybe we'll be wearing our little twinsies. And there's hints in my feeder book of colors that are in your top. Not the same yarn,
no,
but hints of the same colors. So that's as close to twinsies as we're going to get. And this is a little roomy up here. The sleeves, again, pulling in all the stitches on the sleeves might help fix some of that. And the other part of that is the girls are big, so I planned for that when I picked my size, and I will be fine. It's life. So this, reflecting back on our conversation from Thursday's video about, it might have been 2 Thursdays ago now, but about trying to make more room for arms and not front and back, or not having it be gappy and billowy and things like that. This is an all-over increase. It's much harder to control that. It might be like once you get through the color work, you could add on your own raglan increases after that this did not have to compensate for that.
That's what I did on my Steinkrieger. Is I did some raglan increases just
after the color.
Because it wasn't exactly where I wanted it.
And then you can control which parts increase and which parts don't. I found with Jennifer Steingass's stuff, because of the all-over increases, sometimes it's a little more puckery in the back, like my Wintersall, which I think I picked a much bigger size to make. It's super roomy, and it is a little more gappy, and it is a little more foldy gappy in the back. And I just don't look at that part of it. So, that's where I don't care bar is. So, I think we're going to go and get ready for the day. We've got about 10 minutes. We have a lesson coming in. And we may have to set our tent up outside and move some barriers and do all kinds of fun stuff. So, because it's not as windy as it was on Saturday. I'm glad we didn't put the tent up on Saturday. That would have been a hot mess.
Hot mess.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're going to go. It's very good to see y'all. We have Sit and Stitch virtual on Zoom from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, and you can get into Zoom with the shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
That's why when I had to get a verification code, and it was like 3550, and I was like, yeah, call me there. And I was like, oh, poop, that's the shop phone. I was home. So, but I'm like, why do those numbers sound familiar? It's because Liz says them every single day that we're filming. Okay, so that is tonight. And then we didn't have time for a VSC because this stuff was all going on last week. So we will do our best to have a VSC tomorrow where we put a new yarn on sale. We will think long and hard about that and come up with it last minute.
Probably 5 minutes before we start filming.
I'll think all day till tomorrow, and I won't make a decision or have anything to say about it until tomorrow. So, all right. And then we will have Dear Becky and Lizzie on Thursday. So if you have any questions for that, please email this person.
Liz at sundragonartandfiber.com.
Thank you very much. All right. We will talk to you tomorrow. Bye. I have to walk with these.